are Professor Celeste Simon, the Scientific Director of the Abramson Family Cancer Research Institute.
Correct.
You are also the Professor of Cell and Developmental Biology at the University of Pennsylvania, Perelman School of Medicine.
Right.
You have extensively studied cancer metabolism, tumor immunology, and the cellular responses to hypoxia. So thank you for being here or there today. How are you today?
Very good, thank you.
What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think for somebody like me, and it's not easy to achieve it all the time, is a balance of, feeling productive in the lab, feeling like I'm contributing to our university's overall cancer mission, where I have a role in our cancer center with our shared resources. If I feel like my trainees are doing relatively well, and science has its ups and downs, and then a little bit of time towards the things in Philadelphia I really enjoy doing, which unfortunately are not necessarily available right now.
Right.
We love to go to our symphony. We support a local theater. In Philadelphia, there's an exuberant sports scene.
Yes.
And those things all make the city a lot of fun, and those things have unfortunately not been available to us. But what has continued, though, and especially in the nice weather, is being able to go to fun restaurants and meet people outside for picnics and things like that. And so we sort of kept a social life going, albeit with some limitations.
Yes, that's the time of COVID here. What was the last gift you gave someone?
The last gift I gave someone was I sent out a series of thank you bottles of red wine to several administrators here that helped me and a fellow professor submit a big T32 training grant to the NIH. And we couldn't have done that without their unbelievable support, and we certainly thanked them, but I wanted to make sure that they realized how deeply appreciative we were. So I arranged to have to each of them sent a nice bottle of red wine with chocolate truffles.
Oh, nice. What is your most treasured possession?
That's a really interesting question. I'd have to think about it. I think my husband and I are sort of in a place where our possessions mean a lot less to us than experiences. In fact, our families on both sides have sort of decided to get away from giving each other gifts and instead give each other experiences, like getting together or going on a nice trip. But I would have to say one of my most treasured possessions would be a book collection of some of my very favorite books.
Okay, nice. Which superpower would you like to have?
Superpower, a bigger brain. If I could, see the future. If I could predict experimental outcomes, we'd save a lot of time and money. But I guess that would be it. Being able to see the future and only do experiments that were guaranteed to work. That would be incredibly helpful.
Oh, it would totally. What is the craziest thing you have ever done?
The craziest thing I've ever done. There's, I'm afraid, a long list. I think one of them, and I could have gotten into deep trouble for this, but when I was in high school, I went to an all-girls private high school in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I grew up. And it was a pretty progressive school for, a same-sex school run by Catholic nuns. But in the front was this fountain. And I got it into my head one morning to sneakily, or in stealth, put flakes of laundry detergent. So when everybody pulled in, there were towering bubbles coming out of this thing. And if I had been caught, the consequences could have been terrible, but that was back in 1972, so I think the statute of limitations has run out of the heck. But if any of the sisters are listening, I'm coming clean. It was actually pretty funny, though, but I don't think the sisters thought it was very...
No, probably not, but I can imagine. Can imagine. So if you would have a theme song, what would it be?
Well, right now, the mood in Philadelphia after last week is very ebullient. It's as if our sports teams just won a major championship again. Our city deeply and thoroughly supported Mr. Biden, and so the city was just, it was as if, there were just crowds of people getting together and celebrating, and so I would say at the moment my feeling would be there's this song, I think it's by Casey and the Sunshine Band, Celebrate. We were hearing that a lot this week. It was a great feeling after what were a series of very tense and anxiety-provoking days.
Yeah, they were. The eyes of the world were over there. What would you like to understand better?
Well, I guess our research. I mean, we're trying to confront a very challenging question, which is, in particular for some cancers, why do some patients recover well? Why do others not? What is the basis of relapse? What is the basis of intrinsic and acquired resistance to treatments? In fact, that's the basis of our T32 grant proposal, where we're asking for money to train future PhD students and postdoctoral fellows to specifically address some of those complicated questions. And I guess topically, I hope it's okay to say this, I would like to use the next few years to try to understand why 70 million people voted for the incumbent president. I don't understand, and so I'd like to try to do that. So that would be a professional and extracurricular answer to your question.
Indeed. Yeah, that would be a good one. Please let us know if you figure it out.
Get any insights. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you most value in your friends?
Well, one of the things that's great about being in science is I've always seen it as an incredibly social enterprise. We've always made, my husband and I, lots of friends where we went to graduate school, which was Rockefeller University in New York. We were postdocs at, respectively, Harvard and MIT. Our first positions were at the University of Chicago, and now we've been at the University of Pennsylvania for 21 years. And in each setting, we've made a lot of friends that, we have book clubs with, or there's a group of senior women faculty at Penn that gets together once a month that I really enjoy, and we really support each other. And my husband has a circle of golf friends, and the list goes on. We have friends that we go to the symphony with, we have friends that we go to the theater with, and so I think that makes being a scientist, a highly rewarding and rich experience. But I think one of the things that's been the most helpful of late, the last decade or so, is this circle of senior women faculty friends that really support each other through difficulties, maybe big arguments with the leadership, or one person struggling with grants, or somebody worried about getting tenure, those things. And actually the last week, that circle of women friends, which included one who's very involved in the local political party, has been vital to not, having a nervous breakdown, say by Wednesday. So that's been, so to answer your question succinctly, the support when you're really having, struggles or worries.
Yeah. What is the most useless talent that you have?
Useless?
Well, you don't have any useless talents.
Well, I'm sure I do. I don't know. Well, I think I can't say it's entirely useless. I think to be an effective science, You have to have some element of obsessive compulsive disorder. You have to be a perfectionist, and I can probably take this too far. And so dialing that back a bit would probably be wise. But, I have to tell you, though, that you really do have to be a perfectionist, and some level of OCD is required because, and I try to instill this in the trainees, grant proposals have to be perfect. Papers have to be perfect. You have to pay attention to every little detail. That's critical for success. So, but you can't take it too far.
Yeah, agree. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
In my professional life?
In anything. In life, in anything.
Okay, well, in my professional life, I think, and this is near and dear to, why we're talking is, a year ago, 3 friends of mine won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for elucidating a critical oxygen sensing pathway. And I feel our laboratory contributed to that effort in terms of showing that the pathway was essential in vivo settings, whether it's in mouse embryos or in postnatal physiology and disease states. And that was very satisfying to see that play out. I would say, and also professionally, I probably had about 75 trainees come through the laboratory and see all of them achieve their professional goals, which have been a broad spectrum of things, has been very rewarding. I would say outside of the lab, I mentioned, having a lot of friends in multiple places, and not just where I've lived, but because of research, you make friends around the world, and, maintaining those friendships is important.
Yeah, it's an achievement, and congratulations on the Nobel to you too. I agree. It's also your contribution that should be.
Well, if you ever needed validation, for a year now, I've been explaining to people that this pathway is important, as recognized by the Nobel Committee. That's makes my life easier.
Yeah, it does help. Agreed. Who are your heroes in real life?
In real life, well, for the moment, very topical. I think Mr. Biden has conducted himself in a way that I would be proud of. He's been humble. He's been inclusive. His acceptance speech Saturday night really tried to reach out to all Americans. And I thought that was, somebody that you would really want to emulate. And there's a number of scientific heroes I have, and they're very much on my mind right now. Scientifically, we lost just a week ago the great Angelica Aman, an amazing MIT professor, sadly taken by the same disease that claimed one of my true scientific heroes, who was Susan Lindquist, who was just such a amazing creative scientist, but also wonderful person that I would certainly want to emulate. So I would say that those are examples of a scientific hero and somebody from a different walk of life. But there's many others, as well, living and dead. We'd all have to absolutely revere Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, to name just a few.
Yeah. So, which historical figure do you most identify with?
I would, it's kind of fun that I think about Marie Curie, simply because she worked with her husband like I do.
True that.
And, she was just extraordinary, won multiple Nobel Prizes in different disciplines.
Yes.
So it would be hard not to admire her.
Exactly.
But, other towering figures that come to mind absolutely at this moment would include Abraham Lincoln, FDR, to name a few examples.
What is your main characteristics?
Well, I would like to consider myself a friendly person and very outgoing, very social, always organizing social get-togethers, both scientifically and outside of my professional life. I think that would be, and I think pretty much everybody I know would agree with that.
I would too. I would
That
agree with
assessment.
that. Yes, that's a good one. What is your motto, your slogan?
I would say keep pushing on. That's what we have to do, and look at tough situations and find what we call the silver lining, and look at bad situations and try to figure out what's the best aspect of that, and make things better, but not overlook. Every bad situation has a silver lining. I mean, I'll take the current state of politics in our country, which are very concerning. On the other hand, more people voted this election than ever before. I feel like the next generation is more politically engaged.
Yes.
Those are great things.
Yeah, and they say that voting actually matters and should be voicing one's opinion. Yes, agreed. Yeah, good one. On what occasion, if ever, do you lie?
Oh, I think we tell what we call white lies. Sometimes, I don't know that it's an outright lie, but sometimes, well, not sometimes, frequently, we have to give somebody bad news. We have to tell them their paper didn't get accepted or their grant was not funded or, those kinds of setbacks. And so I wouldn't say that I out and out lie, but I always try to spin it in the most positive way possible to kind of cushion the blow, especially for people new to the business. I've been around long enough that I know you just take the good with the bad, and things will work out. But for brand new trainees, you have to kind of temper it a little bit. So I also sometimes have to do that with family members. Again, not so much lie, but trying to soften any blow that they may setback that they may experience.
Yeah. To my last question to you. Looking back, what would be your advice to your 20-year-old self? What would you say to that girl?
Well, yeah, as a 20-year-old, I would have been at university at that time, and I was certainly working very hard. I really had become pretty dedicated to a scientific career. But I still had a lot of self-doubts, which isn't so surprising. And I think if I look back on, I would have been, have a little more self-confidence, a little bit less this fear of intimidation by, people that were further along in their careers. But that's hard to appreciate as a 20-year-old. You go to university and you feel like you're surrounded by professors and other students that are far smarter than you, and believing in yourself can be hard.
Yeah, it is, but very important, and I think that's a good message for any up-and-coming scientists maybe watching this interview and thinking that that's the same thing with the ones that have achieved so much. Thank you for this interview.